according to the New York Times, some of the Labubu dolls have banned cotton in them. This is your favorite half Chinese. Guess where that cotton is coming from? Yes, you guessed it, from China. They are accusing China of forced labor despite the fact of having any evidence. But here, this is their logic. The ban does not apply to importers that can prove goods were not made with forced labor. It is completely the opposite, like they normally say. Normally they say the burden of proof lies in the hands or lies on the accuser, right? But in this case, it is always the burden of proof lies on the Chinese. The one that accuses needs to be able to prove that you did something. It is not up to a defendant to prove that they are innocent. It's completely rigged. Anyway, we're not going through the whole thing because it is just propaganda. But here it is interesting. A test of the cotton in a Labubu was commissioned last year by the Campaign for Uyghurs. Why is that interesting? Because the Campaign for Uyghurs is NED supported or funded by the NED. The NED, for the people that don't know, it is a CIA cutout, as some might say. I believe it was one of the founders that said, we are doing what the CIA can't do anymore. That is the organization. Anyway, let's dive into what actually is going on in China. So I had this article right here. And it's called The Last 5% of Handmade Cotton Farmers in Xinjiang. Behind a high salary of earning 200 yuan a day is actually a gap in survival for 12 hours. This is a translation from Chinese. So I can read it to you guys and everybody will understand it. So the data shows that the comprehensive mechanization rate of cotton cultivation in Xinjiang has remained above 95% for 5 consecutive years. In 2024, the cotton machine harvest rate in Xinjiang exceeded 90% and the full mechanization rate in some regions was even as high as 97%. This means that in the vast north, in south of Xinjiang, the vast majority of cotton fields have already bid farewell to bending back to pick up cotton way of work. And you can just look it up. China is one of the 3 top producers of cotton. It does not pick cotton by hand. But somehow the New York Times wanted to put this picture in it. Why do they do that? They do that because they want to propagandize your mind and give you a picture. Why would this picture resonate with Americans? Because it is actually what Americans did to slaves that they stole from Africa. And here, this is very interesting. The caption below, and that is why you always need to read those. Farmers picking cotton in the Xinjiang region of China in 2018. Why would you use a picture of 2018 in an article of 2026? Well, I think that my viewers are now already smart enough to understand why that is. Let me know that in the comment section. It is kind of weird, right? Anyway, go back to the Chinese article because it is much more interesting and you get a deep insight in how the cotton business actually works. So this person actually went to Xinjiang to pick cotton because this person wanted to write about it. So this person wanted to do research and just evaluate it by doing the work itself. This, my friends, is what we would call journalistic work. This, however, where they are saying a test of the cotton in Labubu was commissioned last year by the Campaign for Uyghurs, a well-known organization that has been funded by the NED, and so you just take it as on face value. You're not doing your own research. So here, this person went to do its own research, says, "You see this terrain," said the friend, pointing to the cotton field. "The ground is uneven. The roots of the poplar trees are intertwined. The big guy in the cotton picker drives in and one accidentally has to lie down. Even if you can work hard, the cost is not as good as asking people." That's the first reason that the 5% exists, the quota limit. In southern Xinjiang, many cotton fields are small plots and scattered farmlands, some on hilly slopes and some mixed with forest. Large cotton harvests are not open in these places, and the risk of forced operation is too high. The second reason is more practical: economic considerations. According to the survey of cotton planting costs in Xinjiang in 2024, the cost of mechanical work is generally 400 to 600 yuan per acre. And although the unit price is high, the total cost may not be higher for a small area farmers. That's interesting that they're talking about paying while it should be forced labor or slave labor, as some might call it. A friend calculated an account for me. I have dozens of acres of land. If you ask the cotton harvester, you have to calculate the money by the hour or according to the acre. The machine will have a cost. The operation efficiency is still low, but ask a few odd jobs, pay for kilograms, how much they take, and how much I pay, and finally the total cost may be lower. Therefore, this 5% manual picking is not a person who forces whom, but rational choice under certain geographical conditions and smallholder economic model. So these are the reasons why there is still a whopping 5% that is being picked by hand. There are two main types of people working in the field. One is the local and surrounding farmers who use their leisure time to make extra money. The other is seasonal workers who are found through acquaintances or recruitment information. Notice, none say there is people here that have to be forced to work. I met a Uyghur older brother from Tarak Township, Rangtai County, who has been picking cotton here for 7 or 8 days. He told me that he also had land, but the cotton is not yet fully mature and he can earn about 120 yen a day while he is out of the gap to do some work. So he is doing it to earn extra money. He's not being forced to do it. In fact, he got a plot himself. That is so far from being forced to work. We all come voluntarily, he said, to take how much to get and to spend a day's work a day. But I guess we should not believe actual Uyghurs that live in China that are actually doing this work. We should believe people who are here continuously rooting for the downfall of China and are being paid by the NAD, what we would call, or some might call, a CIA cutout from Washington. The mother of all lies. There is no such thing as a big army or a huge special train. Today's cotton pickers are scattered and individual, flowing to the last 5% of positions through the market-oriented way. They are the survivors in this wave of mechanization, in the gap in the technology missed. The high salary of 150 to 200 yuan a day, you can make 150 to 200 a day. That's what I heard before I left. And that is more than enough money in China, especially in that region. The first day the sun went down and I dragged the well stock back to the pound 43.3 kilogram, the foreman wrote down on the small book 45.3 kilograms times 2.2 yen is 99.66 yuan. Less than $100, that's what I've done for a day. Well, this is less than 100 yen, right? But but the familiar ones next to them are different. My big sister's bag was fuller than mine, 1 pound 78 kilograms and 171 a day. The other bigger brother is faster, nearly 90 kilograms, and can earn almost 200 yuan a day. Well, I think it's safe to say that these people who are plucking cotton by hand is doing it on their own volition to earn extra money or just to earn money. So as promised, I looked up the companies of the United States who make use of forced labor from the prison system. And here I have a couple of companies. McDonald's linked to the use of incarcerated labor for processing beef and milk products. Recent reports also identifying prisoners working at local franchises in Alabama. Wow. So that means when you eat those burgers, yeah, I think, allegedly. So why is it that a McDonald's is allowed? Cargill, the agricultural giant, acknowledged purchasing goods from prison farms in Tennessee, Arkansas, and Ohio. More forced labor, because when you work in prison, that's forced, right? We can all agree on it, can't we? Coca-Cola products were tied to prison labor through raw material harvesting. Tyson Foods, identified as part of a supply chain utilizing agricultural prison labor. Retail and manufacturing. Walmart uses inmates for manufacturing and processing produce from prison farms. Victoria's Secret. Oh, ladies, you're gonna have to drop that thing. Historically used female inmates in South Carolina to sew undergarments and replace made-in tags. That is demonic. Forcing women prisoners to make that. To sew undergarments and replace made-in tags. Replace made-in tags. So where would they have been made if they need to replace a tag? I don't know if that is what they mean with it. I'm not going to say anything. But ladies, do you know how much you pay for Victoria's Secret? And then they're making use of that. I'm not sure how much those prisoners make, but I believe the money, at least for in the male prisons, is like about 10 cents an hour, or was it something like that, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. If there's Americans that know that, let me know in the comment section. Home Depot investigated links to outdoor furniture makers that employed inmate labor. Starbucks, yeah, utilized subcontractors like Signature Packaging Solutions to have inmates package coffee beans. So, as you can see, right, AT&T and Verizon have used inmates to staff call centers and provide telecommunication service. To staff call centers with criminals having their hands on your data. That's savage. That is so savage. You're using criminals, convicted criminals, to handle. I mean, if they are on the phone in call centers, they speak. What? That's insane. Fidelity Investments, identified as a major funder and investor in the prison industrial complex. Bank of America and Wells Fargo. Well, not surprising, obviously. Despite previous pledges to divest, both banks have re-entered the private prison sector as of late 2025. And then you would wonder, why is McDonald's so expensive? Why is Coca-Cola so expensive, right? Why do you need to pay so much at Starbucks if they're using prison labor, which essentially could be counted as forced labor? And why is nobody in the West talking about these companies? Why is my country allowing other companies who are openly making use of forced labor in the United States allowed to be in my country? Actually, that is a very dumb question considering that I live in the Netherlands, who has a history of slave labor. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit and show the extreme hypocrisy and the double standards and how it does not make any sense at all whatsoever. But if you don't agree, just let me know in the comment section. And if you agree and have some additional information, please also let me know in the comment section. I also want to let you know that I have a buy me a coffee for the people that can and want to support my work. But if you are financially not able, please do not donate to me. Just give me a like, a share, and also subscribe and click that notification bell so you will not miss a video. And I will end the video like that, and I wish you all a great day. Your favorite half Chinese.